Hello everyone, I'd like to introduce you to Hyperledger, which is a distributed ledger platform specifically designed for financial institutions and enterprise companies. Many of you will already heard the sort of now cliched phrase, I love the blockchain, just not Bitcoin. The sort of argument against that is that blockchains do need a cryptocurrency built in order to incentivize the miners, but we don't use blockchain technology directly. We try to simplify it to just purely the technology, so our goal is to not have any cryptocurrency built in. We've described as Bitcoin for banks, distributed consensus ledger minus the mining, speculation and capitalization baggage, and it provides a god's eye view of financial assets, which are the holy grail for banks and regulators. So let's take a very, very simple example of a group of banks that want to trade with each other. So they're all trading with each other, say over voice desks, and then they'll be recording their own trades and positions inside their own internal databases. Obviously there can be errors and mismatches, which can lead to a long and expensive reconciliation process. So one potential solution to this, common one, is to get rid of all the private databases and just have one single database operated by a central authority. And then all the banks will trade through that central authority. So it has some of the similar downsides in terms of it's slower, more expensive, and it also sort of it has some member banks and then perhaps excludes some other smaller banks who then have to be clients of the member banks, and it all has to go through them, so it becomes again this sort of siloed system. And that's, again, a different system for each asset class. So enter Bitcoin, which tries to in part solve this problem. Revolutionary technology in 2009 that I assume you're somewhat familiar with, but just in sort of quick summary, it's best known for being a cryptocurrency, and we're talking about a couple of other platforms here as well. So Ripple has XRP cryptocurrency built in, Ethereum has Ether. It's a network, and most importantly it's one singular public international network, and it's a shared data layer for the blockchain in Bitcoin's case. So the design decisions of Bitcoin will be to be as decentralized as possible, to make it as resilient as possible, even from governmental attacks, and that comes at the cost of efficiency. So Hyperledger takes a different starting assumption that you're not looking to do anything illegal or that the government would want to shut down. You're probably not going to be launching your own currency to compete with the US dollar, and you already trust other institutions to an extent. So it's really getting that middle ground and balance right between decentralization, which allows you to have a shared data layer, and efficiency in the transactions. So Hyperledger has instant confirmation times. It has 10,000 transactions per second per pool. We aim to get that up to about 100,000, and there can be multiple pools as well. So it's infinitely horizontally scalable. You can have one pool just for one particular asset class and scale that out horizontally. So the key differences are we don't have any cryptocurrency built in, which reduces regulatory risk. As far as I know, we're the only project with no cryptocurrency. You don't have the technical overhead of having to maintain, let's say, a balance in each account. There's no volatility, and there's no sort of monetary policy of Bitcoin and Ripple with fixed issuance. It's not just one singular network, so it's designed from the off to have multiple interoperable consensus pools, which can have varying degrees of privacy. And we're really trying to sort of strip down to just the core technology, which is the shared data layer in one consensus pool.
So obviously it's more of an API and protocol, but we do have a reference client implementation on the command line. I apologise, it's not visually that spectacular, but I'll try and just give you some examples of how it works here. So any one particular consensus pool can record different assets in different ledgers. What we try and do is minimize the identifying information, so that if you are replicating the data, there's no need to see essentially what the underlying asset is that's being traded. So here the only identifying information you get by default is just a hash that specifies the contract, which determines the exact details of the asset that you are trading. And similarly with accounts, they are merely identified by a public key, and you just see the balance in whole numbers. But without the contract document, and I can show you an example here, you might not actually, there'll be no identifying information about what that asset is. So this is just an example stripped down contract document. So obviously you can give it a name and description, which is just makes it easier for people actually using the system. And then just in this example, just some simple more information, so the currency symbol and the decimalization. Here we're going for a fairly standard decimalization to put it into pounds and pennies, but obviously you can push it the other direction and record whole units as being multiples in the thousands or millions of units, so that you know, people can't see, if you're doing particularly large trades, they might not see the actual details of how large that trade is. So all the information is sent initially to one of the nodes in the pool, which is nominated as the primary, and that rotates. And then once that primary has got that command and put it into an ordered log, it broadcasts that out to all the replicas. It goes through a two-phase process. When that's all confirmed, it executes the operation. So anyone can follow along, or anyone you give access to can follow along with the log. It's an ordered log, so you know, any regulator or auditor could simply run through the list of transactions in order and build up the exact current state of the database. But again, without the contract documents, they can just verify that the data's the data integrity and that no one is misrecording any data without actually seeing the details of the positions. Obviously, if you share the contract document with them, then they can see the details of the positions. So we can just show you a quick example of importing a contract document, the contract document that we saw earlier. And now if we go back to the accounts that we were looking at, so now you can see that the currency symbol, this is just a simple example, but you can see the currency symbol has been appended and the decimalization is shown. So without that, it's there's not much identifying information about the current state of those balances with the document, and you can share that with whoever you want. It could be completely public if you're trading something very widely, or it could be a limited scope, just the partners who wanted to see your open positions, then you can just share the document with them.
Yep, so as I said, it's sort of modular by design. It's really stripped down to just the core technology. So some projects are very interesting and try to take on a lot and have it all integrated into one full stack solution, but that means you have to sort of re-architect a lot of your existing systems, and it makes it a high exit cost to switch over. So Hyperledger is just the ledger layer. We want to integrate into existing back offices and existing marketplaces as well. So there are big key differences. There are multiple deployment options. With Bitcoin and Ripple, it's just one big public ledger. With Hyperledger, you can take the code and actually sort of run it internally in a completely private setting, so that only the members of that pool can see what's going on, or they can give access to a third party like a regulator or auditor. One big advantage of that, obviously, other than just having your positions hidden, so if you don't want, if you're doing large institutional trading, you don't want people to see and then get in front run you. Another advantage is if you want to include lots of metadata. If you're using